Hello there, everybody. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late. Just was watching the price action here on euro dollar, and just slipped my mind then about getting started. Hi, Royston. I'm doing really well, mate. I hope you're well too. Let's just open this up a little bit. Interesting price action at the moment. Dollar data I thought was fairly positive for the US dollar that's just come out. So we've had the unemployment claims coming in a little bit lower, and we've had GDP coming in at 1.4% as expected. And I was expecting that to actually fuel a little bit of dollar strength in the market. That's not quite happened right now. We're actually seeing little bit of downside. Whether that will turn sort of in the US session, potentially. And I'm just looking at sort of this 4-hour time frame at the moment. I thought that price was kind of developing one of those sort of triangle patterns that we've been looking at a lot recently, in terms of, we've had a big move to the downside. We formed a bit of a base down here, and the highs are technically getting lower at that point. So looking to basically see how the market reacts in and around this area here, this sort of volume up towards the 1.0727, which is, you can see, is kind of developed from this volume that kind of kicked off the sort of downward move on Tuesday. So yeah, just kind of looking to see how that plays out at the moment, because I didn't think that dollar data was necessarily bad for the US dollar. We've obviously ignored this little bit of a volume level here, and the higher volumes are a little bit more towards the highs. So just kind of watching this. Obviously euro dollar on my watch list to be short. Have been short this week, but basically trying to follow what's going on here on the currency heat map. So yeah, we've got basically euro dollar bearish, pound US dollar bearish, dollar yen looking for those longs still, and whatnot. One currency pair I quite like is pound Aussie. I'm currently short pound Aussie as well, so we'll go take a look at that in a moment. But yeah, this is kind of what I'm basing my moves on at the minute. And euro dollar short I still quite like the idea of, but we've just seen kind of price take out yesterday's high as well, which is here. And I don't typically like to be short a market if it starts breaking daily highs, but doesn't mean that price isn't going to trade lower, of course. Obviously, the market could close in here today and then continue to drop further. Obviously, we have the political tensions in Europe as well, so some potential downside here for euro dollar, I feel, but it's just where we kind of get on the back of that move. But let's welcome everybody in anyway. We have Royston popping in today. We've got Ratish. Hi, John. How you doing? I'm doing really well, thank you, Ratish. CG, hope you're doing well. I'm Rai Guy. Morning to you. Hello, Vincent and Tabo. Welcome to the live stream today. As always, guys, let me know what you guys are up to. We did some really deep analysis on the Australian dollar yesterday. I like the idea of being a buyer of the Aussie, especially against the likes of the euro and the pound. Like I said, I'm in a pound Aussie position at the moment. So yeah, just looking to see how that one plays out, but we'll go over it as well. But yeah, that data drop was interesting. If we have a little look at what's happened recently, so 1:30 we had the final GDP quarter on quarter that came in at 1.4%, slightly above the previous, so nothing much there. Unemployment claims came in lower, 233k. Did we get a revision then? Okay, and it was revised a little bit higher to 239k. So maybe that's why we had a bit of a reaction. We've had a revision higher of last month's. Last week's number. So maybe that's why we're seeing a bit of upside or downside in the US dollar at the minute. Who else we got in then? So we got Wizzy, welcome. Bruce, welcome to the live stream. Hope you're both doing well. Vincent is short New Zealand US dollar in the red at the moment. Your thoughts, please. Yeah, I like Kiwi downside. I was waiting to see. I like Kiwi downside against other currencies, not necessarily against the dollar. But if we go take a look at Kiwi dollar, actually. I like the idea that we're starting to sort of break down this area, right? So we've been in this kind of upward trend. Let me just put this on a daily chart on the left-hand side so you can see that a little bit. And I'll just zoom in. So, market has been fairly bullish. We came into that 6,200. Liked the idea of being short at 6,200s. But yeah, we've basically just been finding this support down towards 61s, and then we've recently breached that as of yesterday. So that put me on alert. That did put me on alert for New Zealand US dollar because I like the idea of being short Kiwi at the minute. But we've had a bit of a rebound today, and I'm actually looking a little bit higher up. You can see I've got this zone on the 30-minute time frame, which is around that 61.10 handle, just slightly above would be quite nice, I think. So I like the idea of being short. Let's have a look where you're short from. So 6.099. So I mean, you're not too far offside, right? So if you're getting in at pretty much where that level I've got in here is, I saw this little pocket of low volume that I was interested in, but we broke into it. So wasn't too interested in that. So your entry is 993. And your stop loss is 61,115. Now, your stop loss is a little bit vulnerable. I'm interested to see why you've put your stop loss there, Vincent. Is that an ATR stop or something? That's an interesting stop loss because to me, that is where this volume has been built. And, I like the idea that volume is a sort of magnet for price, right? So the safer stop is above that volume, right? So 61,134, I would say, is a safer stop loss. Maybe a little bit lower, just above that 61.30, just because you've got this barrier in the way then. And if price breaks through that volume, then we're wrong anyway at that point. But I do like it. It's just not necessarily sort of on my currency heat map to get short right now because we have only just kind of broken into making a new low, and we didn't really, we could argue we didn't get a successful close below. We had one close below. I like to look for two closes. But now we're kind of trying to test these areas. I do like the idea of price being down in this sort of 6050. So yeah, I don't see why not look for the short. Just interested to know why your stop loss is so tight, essentially. But other than that, I don't necessarily mind downside here. I'm just waiting. You see, I've got an alert at 61.10. And that's what I'm kind of waiting for. I want to see this volume get rejected in here. It tells me that sellers are getting involved at that point. So yeah, let me know on the stop loss there. Euro dollar, like I said, like the idea of being short this market. Anything we've got really is this kind of build up coming in here now, this kind of accumulation forming. I like the idea of price trying to get towards these weekly swing lows, and it still might happen. So I'm going to see how price reacts up here because I want to just see if we get a reaction to this price, coming into the US session now. So I want to see if the US market tries to reject these higher volume levels. Like I said, if I go back to the 4-hour time frame, market has kind of come in, potentially testing this area. This could be a nice area, like I said, because if we do start to see a sell-off here, we've almost got that same pattern that we've been looking at, which is that push away, push away, fail, and then take those stop losses below these lows that people are buying on. That's what I'm kind of looking for in this particular move. So yeah, we'll see what happens. See if we get that play. What I need to see here is some kind of rejection. So I'm on the 30-minute time frame on the right hand side. This is a 4-hour time frame on the left hand side. And I think if we get a move into this area outside of it, lower high, that's what I'll be looking for. Be looking for a lower high opportunity for a move to the downside there. So yeah, euro dollar, that's what I'd be particularly looking for right now. A little bit of a rejection for a move lower. But yeah, there's been other markets that have been on my radar this week. I've actually had a pretty decent trading week. Let me just change the settings that I've got over here. I've just took a couple of losses though. I have took a couple of losses today, but I'll go over those in a second. But yeah, I've mainly been shorting euro pairs. So I've been shorting euro dollar, euro Swiss I've been short on. Kiwi CAD I've had a good ride on as well. So let's go take a look at some of the pairs because I've got the currency strength heat map to go through. So yeah, euro dollar economy, cable. So cable's on the list to get short today. Let's see where we're kind of positioning ourselves on cable as well. So see, I like downside here as well. Only short-term downside though, you know. If we look at it from a weekly point of view, it's a little bit of a mess. A little bit of a mess here on the weekly chart. Sorry, I used ATR on the M15. Okay, okay, Vincent. Yeah, don't mind that. Don't mind that. As long as it makes sense, you know. I just didn't know whether you were putting it there just to try and keep your stop tight for whatever reason. But yeah, pound, obviously, very interesting market to take a look at coming into the general election next week. Could be a little bit of downside play. It's probably why we're not seeing too many aggressive moves on pound right now. Market's probably just trying to feel its way through. It's probably being more dominated by the strength that we've seen in the US dollar. But we've had a decent rally recently. And, you know, I like the idea of price coming down into this zone. So if I was just to kind of volume profile this, because it's that consolidation area, this little zone in here is where I wouldn't mind seeing price coming into, right? Kind of this zone. So that's what I'm trying to essentially target. We had this sort of decent resistance level up in here that turned into support recently. So resistance turns into support. We broke that, and now we're just trying to potentially feel a bit of a move to the downside. Again, though, volume for me is a little bit higher. If we look at this kind of 4-hour time frame, where's the volume? And it's up in that kind of consolidation there. So I don't mind sort of seeing that happen, if anything. But arguably as well, selfishly, I wouldn't mind it selling off in and around where we're at. You can see the anchored VWAP is acting as a bit of resistance at the moment. I do have a alert set a little bit higher where this kind of volume peaks yesterday. But I am short pound Aussie right now. So I don't mind seeing some pound downside coming into the market. And why am I short pound Aussie? Well, the difference between the central banks are what's really kind of making me think I want to be sort of short pound Aussie, right? We've got a BOE that are potentially looking to cut interest rates. They're going to probably wait till after the election though. Or they will wait till after the election now because it's coming before that anyway. But we've got inflation falling in the UK, and it's at the 2% target that the Bank of England want to see. So there's a potential for them to cut rates. The RBA might have to hike. The RBA might have to hike interest rates because inflation there has remained very sticky. So looking at the chart, we can see that we're kind of trading to the downside. The only worry I've got, I am short, but I am short with very low risk because of where we're trading right now. We're in this consolidation there. And I always say to you, what does consolidation breed? It breeds that volume, right? Volume would have been put into the market here because buyers and sellers are agreeing with price, right? That's what consolidation is. Buyers and sellers agreeing with price. But then someone wins and someone gives up, and the buyers gave up. The buyers won here, sorry, sellers gave up. So I don't really want the same thing to happen. I don't want price to start shooting off to the upside here and then try and make its way down. So I've just kind of managed my risk on this and have kept it really, really low. But this is the kind of support zone I'm looking for, down towards 1.87. That's where I'm really kind of eyeing things up, because if I look more towards the weekly chart, just take these lines off here. They're from the government bonds. If we take a look at the sort of weekly chart here, again, weekly swing lows, but I like the idea of price trying to trade a little bit lower here. Very similar to what we were looking at before on cable in terms of markets moved up, big buyers coming in. So obviously there's volume down towards this area as well. So yeah, trying to look at the longer term play on pound Aussie because of the differences between the two central banks. That's what I'm really trying to kind of keep my eye on there. Wizzy, let's have a look at your question there. A short pound London opening, it was looking good, but I got stopped out. Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little bit perplexed by that dollar data, why that dollar data hasn't driven up the US dollar right now. Dollar's actually taking a little bit more of a move lower. Unemployment claims coming down. I can only kind of put my finger on, maybe it was the revised figure that the market's kind of looking at there. But yeah, if we just flick back to cable, you know, when I'm looking to day trade this type of market, I'm kind of looking at my higher time frame still, you know, what's kind of going on, where price is at the minute, in relative to where I'd want to be short. And look, there's areas on this where I think it's better to be short higher up, right? Because we've got these kind of pockets in here. On Tuesday, we talked about being short cable as well. You know, if we look at this, why were we being short up here? Well, it's because there was that volume that was created on the 4-hour time frame, right? It ignored this pocket of volume, it moved to the next pocket, and then it rejected there. I'm looking at sort of similar ideas here, right? Where's the volume within the market? It's a little bit higher up. So do I want to be short the pound? Yes, but where's the sort of best place for me to do it? More towards this area. Also as well, let's say I want to get short and I want to target, let's say, that low that's been made in the market, right? Where's the safest place to put my stop loss? Okay, so if you've got any on London open, which would be sort of 8 a.m. here, let's say short there, and that was looking pretty good. Yeah, that's great. But where's a safe stop loss at that point? Because you've got all the price action of yesterday, which has got the volume within it. You know, I think my safe stop loss is above these highs, essentially up here. And that's a negative risk reward ratio. So what I try and do is then find an area where I get positive risk reward and then try and work my way from there. You don't obviously have to have your stop loss up here, but, you know, it could potentially help to have that. So depending on your strategy, of course, your strategy might be completely different to how I trade as well. But I like trying to get shorter from higher prices here, very close to the lows there. So I try and avoid that one a little bit. So I still think that maybe we will see a tiny bit of upside. I'm actually kind of hoping for it because if we look at the dollar index, you've almost got this area here, which could be a support point for price. So, and that would mean euro dollar rejects this area. So yeah, I don't mind looking at shorts on euro and pound US dollar if we do get a little bit of higher prices. It's hard, you know. Technical analysis for me is your timing. You know, fundamentals and, you know, the sentiment work that I do off screen, that gives me the picture of what I want to do. But then you still have to kind of put the timing into place. You know, where's the best place to get involved? So yeah, trying to get involved a little bit higher up there. But if you're looking at it from a shorter time frame point of view, one thing that I've talked about in the past is looking at your sort of Asian trading range, right? And there's two kind of ways that you can trade the Asian range. I think I've actually got there's an indicator for it on TradingView. We go to Asia, Asia session high-low midlines. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, right. So you can have this on your charts as well if this is something that helps you. Just going to move this one to the side a minute. And if the Asia session has ranged, I like the idea of looking for breakouts and there's one or two ways that you can kind of trade it, in my opinion. The first one is price. If price breaks out of the range, you can look for a retest continuation. So this is a good example of that. On last Friday, market is consolidating within the Asia range. You break it, we retest inside, market moves to the downside. Okay, very similar here. You get a breakout, market kind of tries to push back in, fails, moves higher. So that would have been kind of where you're looking at today. The market was in the Asia range, broke higher, came back in, continued up a little bit. I like the mean reversion back to the Asia range as well. So if price kind of breaks out of an Asia range like this in here, I like to trade back to it because the market can sometimes do that quite often. So yeah, there's two ways you can kind of trade that. You can try to trade that. But looking at sort of the trade short on pound this morning, which would have been like here on the London Open. I mean, I like it, but yeah, we broke the Asia range highs, and sometimes people can see that as like the initial balance. I don't know if you've heard it called that before, but the initial balance, sometimes in stocks, that's like the first sort of 30 minutes to an hour of the open becomes the initial balance. And then if that breaks, then a direction can form. It's very similar in FX in terms of the Asia range. We've broken the outside of that now, and we're starting to sort of trend higher. Does it mean that price is going to continue to just go? No, but it's given us kind of the sentiment picture of what's happening for the day. So if you do have that to hand, definitely something to have a little look at if you are a day trader. I would be looking at something like that, like the little Asia range breakout situation there. But that's just unfortunate. If that met your plan and met your strategy, then you're going to have to chalk it up as one of those. Right, guy, what's your thoughts on gold? I was in the trade to the short side and it's completely reversed, but I'm looking to short it. What are your thoughts on it? I still like gold to the downside. However, there was a really nice little zone of volume that created, and then we broke out of that, and the market has just continued to sort of move higher. Oh God, I hate TradingView. It's really not. It's not saving anything that I do. Every time I come to the gold chart, all the analysis is from the old stuff. But yeah, we tried to get long gold after the breakout of this high, essentially with that sort of triangle pattern, and did okay. Took a little bit out of it and then dropped. The market is more, I'd say, more bearish here. If you look at it from the daily time frame, it is more on the sort of bearish side. It's just that we're coming into those lows again, aren't we? Market's trying to test these lows. But you've got that similar pattern, haven't we? The market has a low point. It's finding lows, right? But look at the pushes away. The highs are getting lower. So I do like the idea of price maybe, breaking lower here. But what is it going to take for that to happen? We're going to have to see some significant US dollar strength, I think. And today we're not really getting it. Maybe the market's trying to front run the core PCE as well tomorrow, because that's going to play a big part in this this play. But yeah, I'd be okay being long gold above this high. You can see I've got an alert there. That was for the old sort of target, but above that high, I'd be happy to be back into sort of gold longs towards the swing highs here towards 24.25. But yeah, I mean, let's look at it in terms of what's happened recently, and let's just see if I can put a volume profile on there. Yeah, look, we kind of traded back within that area now. Point of control is here. So maybe a good area to look for a short is up around this point. You know, you've got that kind of high volume. You can put your stop losses above these kind of highs and then target back at the swing low. I mean, I like the idea of targeting this down in here on gold. I like the idea of targeting that. So what we could essentially look for, so we'll go to the 15-minute. Actually, let's go 5-minute. Let's go 5-minute. What we could look for is the fact that we've tested that area of resistance now. What I would typically do is wait for breaks in structure, right? And beautifully, what's forming is consolidation, right? Consolidation. Again, what is that? That's volume being built in the market. So if we get volume being built at a level of resistance, okay, and then it breaches lower, tells me that sellers are getting involved at the resistance. And then all I would look for is that to happen at that point. Break, retest, look for a continuation to the downside. We can see on the stochastic as well, although stochastics on a lower time frame can be very tricky to read, the average of it is moving down while price is still moving up. So there's a little bit of divergence going on here as well. But I'd only be looking to get short this market now if it does start to break lows and starts giving us a bit of a clue that maybe things are gonna start to change here. You know, so I'll set an alert on gold, see if we can get a little bit of a breakdown here. And if we do, then maybe we can look for a bit of a position play on gold. Let me just go back to the 5-minute and pop on the VWAP. Yeah, we're in that sort of 2 to 3 standard deviation away from the VWAP as well, which is trading towards that 2307 handle. So I quite like the mean reversion play here on gold if we were to see it set up. So yeah, let's see what happens, because look, all that volume that was being built down here, the market may want to go and test this before going long again, or at least just test it in general. So yeah, quite like the opportunity there. So let's see what happens on gold. I still favor the downside, because if people are getting long, you know, they've got that sort of lows there that could get taken. Let's just have a quick flick onto the IG sentiment reader. Let me just see where the people are positioned. So yeah, basically what this is telling me is that we should be bearish on gold, because 61% of retail are long, and they're adding to long positions. The reason why they're adding to long positions is because we're finding support, right? And typical strategies are support, resistance, things like that. So yeah, I don't mind looking for short. The open interest is fairly low on that. But yeah, I like the idea of being short gold. So we'll see. Let's see if we get that mean reversion break at that point. Herc, have you ever trialed your stop loss and found success in using it? If you can give your thoughts on using trailing stops as an exit management system. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the stop management I use is trailing my stop every 3 candle highs, right? The highest high of the... Right, let me put this into context. If I'm short, I'm looking to put my stop loss, the highest high of the last 3 candles on a 4-hour chart. If I'm buying it, I'm looking to put my stop loss below the, or trail my stop loss above the H4, below the H4 lows. It's really hard. Don't know why I'm mixing my words up there, but let me just show you an example of this, just to make it easier for myself, because my brain not working. I have got a coffee next to me. Let me take a sip of that. There we go. Brain might function now. So let's look at this example recently that I took on gold, right? So I traded this on like a 30-minute time frame, but what I did was I went long after the breakout. I think it might have been the breakout of that high, but I can't particularly remember. Let me see if I can get it up. Where did it get long? Got long 23.48. 23.48. Which is here. Actually, it might differ on this platform. What's it saying? 23, 24, 58. 23, 24. Okay, let's just look at it above that high by the looks of things. So let's say you were long in this market, right? And you put your stop loss below that swing low. Okay. What I like to do is trail my stop loss below the third candle low. Okay, so originally my stop is here because that's where I feel my safest stop loss is, and that's where I feel like I would be wrong. Okay, now you can see we get 2 candles print, right? So the way I would look at this, let me just open this up and then I'll replay mode it actually. Let's replay to here. Okay, right. So we're looking for a long, let's say above that high, stop loss below the low. Okay, so what you can look to do is when you pound US dollar has come into that area of resistance. So I will just keep an eye on it. Anyway, sorry, let me get to this. So you get your first candle print, you do nothing because it's not the third candle. Then we get our third candle print. Our stop stays the same because the lowest low of those 3 candles is where our stop loss originally is. Okay. Next 4-hour candle prints. So now I'm looking to do some management. So I've got the lowest low of the last 3 candles is here. Right, let me just actually put it. This is my original stop. Let's make this red and let's give it some text. Okay. So what I'm looking to do then is drag my stop loss below the lowest low of the last 3 candles. So again, move it there. Get another one, lowest low of the last 3 candles. I'm now locking in profit. I'm locking in profit below that candle low there. Okay. And then all I'm doing is trying to figure out where the best place to put my stop loss is. So the lowest low of the last 3 candlesticks is below this candle now. Okay. So I'll move it up to here. Right. Again, doesn't change. And then we get stopped out. But we get stopped out in profit. That's the way I like to do it. So another example of this would have been on EuroCAD. I was short EuroCAD. And I was short EuroCAD after price rejected this area here. Okay. So short around about this level here. Stop loss above the high. Okay. Now this is where obviously it can work against you, because if you're following that and you're in a consolidation, then it's going to work against you, right? Because if you're looking at the highest high of the last 3 candlesticks, that's here. Okay. So that's where I'm putting my stop loss. And then if you keep looking at the highest high of the last 3 candlesticks, you'd be moving your stop loss down to like there. So you can get stopped out before the move's already gone. The only other way that I like to do it is if you're in a phase, then you can start trailing the stop loss above the highest high of the last 3 candlesticks. Trailing stops are good because they protect your capital, right? The problem is they can knock you out of a trade early. That's the only thing that it can do. But I think what you should do, if you've, I'm assuming you're not using a trailing stop. If that's the case, I would go back through all your previous trades and experiment. Do 1 or 2 things. Look at the highest high of the last 3 candles, or the lowest low of the last 3 candles on a 4-hour time frame, or look at ATR. Okay, so when an ATR, let's say, of the next 4 candles comes out and it's moved 30 pips, maybe drag your stop loss so that it's not within that range, if that makes sense. Do you implement trailing stop like that on every trade, or is there? Yeah, definitely discretion for me. I don't do it on every trade. you know, a lot of the times I just leave the trade open. And then when it comes to my first TP, I'll take some off the table and then just move my stop loss down to protect the capital then. So guys, just keeping one eye on cable and euro because they're rallying higher a little bit and that alert went off. So I'm just keeping one eye on those. Let's just flick back to that for a second. So we're coming into that zone now. And this is where I like to try and go into sort of lower time frames and just see where how price starts reacting. Right. But I'm still waiting for this to happen. So there's still a lot of time to develop something, but I'd just like to have a little look and see where there's markets moving. Euro pound short, but still testing the swing high, waiting for a clear break low. Your thoughts? Yeah, Euro pound, a tricky market. Not necessarily a market I like the sound of at the moment. I mean, I guess it's in a nice sort of downward phase and you're getting short from highs, I assume. So yeah, I don't mind that at all, sort of in there. Yeah, it's just, again, before I get to a chart, I always say, what's my why? Why do I want to be involved in a chart? You know, I want to try and look for a currency that's strong. I want to try and look for a currency that's weak. Euro pound, to me, I want to be short both. So I don't necessarily want to trade this market. The only benefit you might get from this is the fact that you've got the European elections coming up, but I wouldn't necessarily hold a euro short just in case, you know, let's say you're holding euro short because you think the far right political party is going to get in France on Sunday. Do you really want to risk that doesn't happen and then you get the sort of the move and then you get stopped out? You know, that's not something that I would particularly want to look for at the moment. I'd want to wait to see if price you know, if you do get the reaction first. But yeah, euro pound's a tricky one for me, Tabo, to be honest, because they're both sort of a little bit weaker. One chart that I showed yesterday, if nobody's watched the video from yesterday, was like a comparison chart. And basically, this is like the basic fundamentals of sort of strong versus weak currencies for me. And it's all the sort of relative to what the US dollar's doing. Let me just stop the screen for a second and then share the screen. Where do I go? Entire screen. Here we go. Screen 2. There we go. So what I've got on here now is the comparisons of the dollar pairs. Okay, not all of them because dollar Swiss is inverse and things like that. I only did the ones that weren't inverse. And this was kind of going to my point of why I want to be a buyer of the Australian dollar, because against the US dollar, this white line here, I'm just going to try and zoom in a little bit. Can I write on this? What does that button do? Okay, yeah, that markup. Let's see if I can get a pen tool. Yeah, okay. So the white line that's kind of running through here right now. Can I zoom in and out? Can't really zoom in and out. Right, okay. So the white line, the Australian US dollar, okay, is holding its own against the US dollar at the minute. We can see that it's kind of in a bit of a range, right? And we know that because we've looked at the charts daily, we can see that. Whereas if we look at the euro dollar price, you know, moving to the downside, we can see pound US dollar very similar to Kiwi dollar as well, starting to make that move to the downside. So this is why I want to be a buyer of the Aussie US dollar at the minute. Now, there are other factors in it, like I've already discussed, in terms of the RBA looking to potentially do that. But if you want to do that chart yourself, I'm just going to show you how you can do that. So if we go to, I'm going to go to a chart where I feel like they've got no real stuff on. Let's just use Aussie US dollar again. Let's just remove all those. What I'm going to do is go to a daily chart. I'm going to put it onto a line chart like this. And then we can just add comparisons, right? So let's say you want pound US dollar. Okay, let's put pound US dollar on there. And what I'm going to do, hit the right-hand side, and we're just going to put percent. I'm going to try and move that onto the screen there. Let's add another one now. So let's do euro, US dollar. And this is just something that you can do just to kind of add a little bit of context to why you're looking at those cross pairs in particular, because when you start to see the difference between how the markets are moving against the US dollar, that's when you can go and trade your cross pairs. So you might want to just build this yourself and have a little look at it. Let's put New Zealand US dollar on there, and let's put you have to go Swiss US dollar because you want the inverse, right? Which is Swiss US dollars all the way up there now. I did something here yesterday where I just kind of got everything in line, and I can't remember how I did it. It wasn't logarithmic. Index to 100. It was not that. Percent. Lot price to bar ratio. I can't remember how I did this now, because now everything else is gone. When you find out how to do something and then you forget how to do it the next day, it's so annoying. How did I do it yesterday? I did something. Oh, here we go. Percent. Here we go. But why is that not letting me move now? It's looking a little bit chaotic. Yeah, this experiment is failing right before my eyes right now. But anyway, what we can do is we can look at how the market is moving relative to the US dollar, and then we can try and base our trades off the back of that. That is what the basis of Forex strength and weakness comes from as well. I try and look at all the currencies against each other, builds a bigger picture of what's going on. So yeah, cable on that list. Aussie still in the range sort of, but if we look at sort of Euro Oz, Pound Aussie, those are the markets that I really like. Aussie Kiwi, arguably. Does anybody trade Aussie Kiwi? Aussie Kiwi arguably is a good market to have a little look at as well. Let me just remove all this now and revert this back, because that was a failed experiment there. So unfortunately, I don't know how I didn't get it to work. I got it to work yesterday. I want to know how I did that now. So I'm going to try and play around with that in my own time so I can show you again in the future. But yeah, essentially you've got the Aussie US dollar price, which is a range bound market, and then you've got other things. So let's go take a look at Pound Aussie. We've already actually had a look at Pound Aussie. Let's go Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie, yeah, like the look of this as well. If we look at this from a weekly chart basis, we're starting to break lower. What I did yesterday was kind of look at the fact that we've got this almost downward trend developing within the market. We've got volume being built in and around this area, and you've got the ECB that are cutting interest rates, the Australian dollar keeping rates high. And again, what this could lead to is the carry trade as well. And a lot of banks, hedge funds will look for the carry trade so that they can earn money overnight on their positions. And we can do the same with our swap charges. So Euro Aussie short would be good for swaps and swap charges. So essentially what we're looking for here is some further downside. You've got this kind of area initially, which I like as an initial target for shorts on Euro Oz. And all I'm doing now, because the weekly is in that downward trend, is looking at this 4-hour time frame. If I put the 50 MA on here, you can see that the market has reacted nicely to the 50 MA in the past. And what you can notice here is we're approaching the 50 MA again, and there's volume. So if I just put on volume profile from the swing high down to the swing low, you'll see that there's volume being built in and around this area, right? So from this kind of area where we're coming into now, and above that is that volume. If I try and make it a little bit tighter towards that area here, you can see we've got all that kind of volume coming in up here. So I like the idea of being short EUROAUS, and I'm looking at potentially getting short EUROAUS in and around this point here, where that selling pressure got a hold yesterday. Can price come back into that point, find resistance again? So yeah, looking at that right now as well. So that's a 4-hour time frame. If we look at it from a 30-minute time frame perspective, looking at basically trying to see if we get any kind of action in and around this zone. And what I mean by that is, do we push into the zone? Do we break out of it? Maybe form that sort of lower high pattern? And do we then get to the idea that we can be short Euro Oz? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know in the comments. Just keeping an eye on what's going on at the minute. Still seeing the pound starting to give a little bit of a rejection in that area we spoke about, but not a very big one. If anything, it looks like price is still probably going to climb a little bit higher. Same with euro dollar, not really had too much of a reaction there yet. And gold is the same. Gold not giving us that reaction just yet, but is kind of consolidating still. So we'll see if it does start to break lower, because there's no point being involved in that if it's not going to give us the price action that we need, or that our bias suggests that we kind of look at. So no need to kind of rush into that. Yen pairs are performing pretty good. Is anybody trading the Japanese yen at the minute? Japanese yen is a very interesting market. Again, you know, the market last week, if we just have a little look at the sort of performance of last week and the strength meter, you know, the yen pairs were the best. You know, 238 pips on dollar yen, 210 pips on CAD yen. We had like 40 pips of downside on pound US dollar and only 11 pips downside on euro dollar in terms of where it changed on the open and the close price. Euro Swiss performed pretty well. Euro CAD, like I said previously, but the yen pairs still seeing yen weakness. Oops, what have I done there? Still seeing yen weakness, and it's hard for me to want to trade that right now. Now, we should be technically long dollar yen, and we should be technically long CAD yen as well. And I'm finding it difficult to get long, right? And I'm not finding it difficult in terms of technicals, because really beautiful level here today. Market has rejected it. Had an alert go off for this before the stream. Got that volume zone in there. This would typically be a long for me. But I just don't like where dollar yen is at the moment. Now, we do have to kind of question why the Bank of Japan will intervene, and they are happy with a weak yen. Let's put it that way. They're happy with a weak yen. What they're not happy is if there is a shock to the weak yen, to a weak yen. So they don't want to see a huge rally for whatever reason on dollar yen, because that's when they will get involved. They don't want to see a sharp movement. If it continues to go slowly, okay, and make it like it's grind its way higher, they don't mind that. You know, if we look at it from a weekly perspective, after, you know, we've seen that sort of big downward move from the intervention, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks before we've come back to the high of that. Whereas the market moved very quickly in a short space of time when they intervened last time. And there's no specific number. right? There's no specific number for what the Bank of Japan want to do in terms of intervention either. I did take a short at 159.90 on Monday, and I ended up getting out for 33 pips, 36 pips, I think it was in the end. And I'm glad I got out of that move now, because obviously prices continued higher. But the yen pairs are loving it at the minute. I mean, Aussie yen would be another one of those pairs that could be something on your radar to particularly try and look for. CAD yen is also there as well as a potential for continued longs. I mean, I tried to look for another test of this volume. We haven't quite had it yet, and price is finding resistance up towards the highs at the minute. So nothing really here for me right now. Even if I look at it from a kind of 50 MA strategy, the only long I could really have looked at is potentially that breakout there for a long, and you won't really be kind of in anything there in terms of good profit. So yeah, yen pairs are hard for me to trade at the moment, because I don't want to get caught on the wrong side if they do intervene, right? You know, if I'm trying to get long here, what if we get slipped on an intervention? You know, that's not something I'm very interested in at all. I don't want to get slipped at all. I want to be able to, you know, trade that with some safety. So yeah, yen pairs for me are off the table, although the currency strength meter is suggesting that, you know, I look to be a buyer of dollar yen, CAD yen, Aussie yen. Just not feeling it right now. Not feeling it. I got asked on one of the videos as well on the sort of 50 MA strength meter and how that's kind of performing at the moment. And the currency pairs that came out of this week were more focused on sort of pound and Kiwi. I haven't actually updated that, so ignore that there essentially. But basically, it was long CAD, short Kiwi, short pound. So really speaking, the only ones that this is looked at from a 50 MA point of view is pound CAD, Kiwi CAD. The Australian dollar's been getting fairly strong as well. The yen fairly weak. Swiss was still on there as a strong currency as well. So you could argue that pound Swiss would have been on there, and Kiwi, Swiss, and what else we got? We got quite like Aussie longs. So Aussie, pound, Aussie, and then you could look at Aussie, Kiwi, and then the yen pairs, but I'm ignoring the yen pairs at the moment. So let's go have a quick look at Aussie Kiwi, because I haven't actually looked at that market since the weekend. So this is a weekly chart, isn't it? So let's go to a daily chart. So it looks like it has continued to push higher. Obviously, at the start of the week, we were trading at these kind of previous swing highs here. Just change the text color back. So yeah, the market looks like it wants to push higher here on Aussie Kiwi. Again, you've got that kind of difference. Aussie Kiwi is again a difficult market to trade in terms of the ins and outs. That does trend quite well often, and we are in this larger time frame range. So maybe we are going to try and push back towards that 1.1. I mean, look at this 4-hour trend. Nothing more to say than, really speaking, where do you want to get long? You want to get long in and around this zone here. So yeah, anywhere sort of here looks pretty good to me. Looking at that, maybe I'll put an alert on it. Maybe I'll trade it. I haven't traded this in a very long time, so maybe longs from, you know, point of control, maybe a little lower, 1.0870s up towards that 1.1. Could look pretty good in terms of your risk to reward, something like that. So I quite like that. Not against that at all. Gold seems to have continued on a little bit. I mean, it's been a bit of a quiet week in the markets regarding trading, really. Although we've had some big moves, it's been fairly quiet. We've got like the big data is going to come tomorrow, which is that US core PCE price index. Market is probably going to be very tentative going into that information. This is the primary inflationary gauge that the Federal Reserve look for. So if we are going to see a significant or a decrease in the core PCE price index, I think that will probably create a little bit of dollar weakness. If we miss to the upside, then I think that's where the trade is. Miss to the upside on the core PCE price index, and dollar strength could be something to really kind of hold on to and watch out for. Starting to see the signs that I want to see on euro dollar. Starting to see a little bit of a move down here, but again, just going to wait on this, see how it performs. Obviously broken yesterday's high, which isn't ideal if I want to be short in this market. So I'm still kind of seeing how this plays out, but that volume there could be a big point of resistance. It looks like the market's just trying to fill this area at the minute, this kind of blank area of volume. Maybe we get stuck around here for a minute and then, continue lower. So let's see how this one goes. But yeah, not a lot going on in the markets right now. Let me know what you got. I know you guys have been trading Kiwi dollar, things like that. I'll flip back over to gold and then I'll probably leave it there because there's not a lot going on. So I don't really want to take up too much of your time. I'll look to the stock markets in a minute, but obviously we've seen some big drops in Nvidia, which is what's driving S&P lower. Nasdaq starting to come back a little bit. Obviously had a bit of a drop. I haven't actually been keeping an eye on any of the stock markets, really speaking. Been looking more at the government bond yields. Oil continuing to rise at the moment. A little bit of a move there. Natural gas starting to pull back a little bit. I do quite like the idea of being natural gas long, so we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, gold not really giving us that pullback here at the minute. This is the sort of area what I was looking at was this little consolidation. So we'll see if that breaks down still. We're at resistance, which is volume that has been created within this downward area here. And if it can breach to the downside, then we could see a little bit of a mean reversion trade. If we look at the VWAP, we're in that sort of 2 and 3 standard deviation. VWAP trading around that 2309s now. So if we do break trend here, a mean reversion trade is something I like the look of. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. All right then, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Like I said, we've been going for nearly an hour anyway. That's gone fairly quickly. But yeah, not too much going on. What I would say is be safe going into tomorrow's data, and probably don't hold any trades over the weekend because of the elections that are coming up on Sunday in Europe. I think that's going to be a big market move, a big risk event. So be aware of that and be safe. Save that capital, live to fight another day, and yeah, go from there. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for joining the live stream today. If you could leave it a thumbs up, I would really, really appreciate that. Lets me know that you guys like the streams, and I will catch you in the next one next week. And yeah, speak to you soon. Making a bit of movement here, actually. I'm saying that the new home sales come out. 1 second, go on to that. Let's see. Pending new home sales down as well. Boom. Gosh, that could be fairly bad for the dollar. Minus 2.1%. But the previous was minus 7.7%. So actually it has rose. So it has come back. But yeah, that could be quite interesting. was forecast to come in at 0.2 though, so it has missed expectations. But what's that done to the euro and the pound? Starting to push it up a little bit. Yeah, gold has completely ignored our idea now. Completely ignored our idea. Okay, right, we'll see. We'll see if it can break down still. Right, guys, thank you. Appreciate your time as always. Have a great rest of your trading week. And yeah, catch you soon, guys.